How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at The Outer Limits. This is Season 1, Episode 8, and this one's entitled The Human Factor. This episode originally aired November 11th, all the way back in 1963, and was directed by Abner Biberman. The episode stars Gary Merrill and features a special guest star of Harry Guardino. And overall, this is a pretty fun, classic sci-fi romp. The idea here is that you get a psychiatrist in an Arctic research base, and through this experiment accidentally winds up swapping his mind with a madman who wants to blow the whole thing up. So now the characters have to stop that and swap everybody's body back. And I kind of feel similarly to this episode as I did for the episode The Man Who Was Never Born. The Man Who Was Never Born was one of those time traveler trying to change history movies. And this one is a classic body swap story, and I feel like, again, saying, hey, this is 1963, the concept was a lot more original back then, but nowadays we've seen so many people do it, and the tropes are very well established and very well worn, and it's hard to put yourself back in the mind of a 1963 audience when this sort of thing hadn't been done all the time. But yeah, it is a pretty fun story. The idea that I've invented this technology and such a thing is possible, but how do I convince people? Especially when I'm trapped in the body of a guy who everybody thinks is crazy, how am I gonna convince people that this isn't just another delusion? And towards the end, we get some fun moving pieces, and we actually get a really tense timer going as things get cut pretty close, and it builds to a really fun finale. Overall, the problems are mainly in the pacing. It takes a long time to get to the body swap element, and we kind of throw out a few of these like plot points, and you're like, okay, where is this episode going? What's the theme? And again, not till about halfway that we actually get to what this episode's about. And the second half is so fun with the way the puzzle pieces all move that I do wish the episode was more of that. And again, if this was a full movie, then 25 or so minutes to get there wouldn't be that big a deal. But this is TV, it's shorter, and I feel like we needed to get to the point a little bit quicker. And there is also a few, like, erratic moments in here, where even if the characters don't know about the body swap, they would probably guess something's up. And again, having seen so many body swap stuff, the way the clues have to be really spelled out in this one is a little bit on the nose. But that being said, still a really fun episode, even if it takes a while to get to its point, and in turn the pacing is a little bit clunky. A classic fun sci-fi story, and again, the timer and the tension at the end really do nail it. So yeah, this is a fun one. Probably not the best one ever, but ultimately pretty cool. And then plus it's all at an Arctic research base, which gives it an extra bit of atmosphere as well. So yeah, definitely recommend this one. Check it out. But that being said, I do want to talk a bit about the plot in detail. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, so I'll be avoiding the end bits, but I do want to talk about some of the things that worked and didn't and kind of break this down a little further. So without further ado, let's take a bit of a deeper dive. We open up with a group of scientists at this Arctic base, and I think it's just a defense monitoring position. Again, they don't really go into too much of why they're there, but it's kind of like Cold War vibes. They just got a new bomb, a really big one. I think it's like an atomic bomb or something. And one of the guys starts kind of like explaining it. If we push this lever down, the whole base will blow up. But there is a safety key, which only I have. And then all of a sudden this one guy starts behaving erratically and insisting, because he's the head of the engineering department, he should have the key. This conversation is interrupted because they get an earthquake. It's apparently quite common because of the ice shelves. And he hits his head on the bomb. And then after the earthquake, he apparently doesn't stop talking, and that causes him to get pulled away and go to the psychiatrist. They think it's because he hit his head in the earthquake, but we as an audience know that he was behaving like that before he hit his head. There's something else going on here. We then cut to the psychiatrist and his assistant, and he's announced that he's built this machine. two people put on special caps, and this will enable them to read each other's minds and actually see what's going on inside of each other's heads. And again, I think this is just a monitoring Cold War station. I kind of wondered if it was supposed to be some special hidden research laboratory, but I think this is a case of some like average guy inventing some crazy superpowered sci-fi device. Whatever, he says it'll be good for therapy. Although, maybe just make that one way then, because you don't really want the guy getting therapy to read your mind, do you? Whatever. During the first experiment, it's a success. However, a bit of an awkward truth is uncovered. It turns out the lady who's his assistant actually really loves him, and now the secret is out, but she also knows that he doesn't feel the same way. Again, because of the two-way thing. So now she's debating maybe I should transfer to another department because it's awkward, and he tries to patch things over, but it's, at a weird spot. Well, once she's gone, the guy who was talking about wanting the keys to the bomb comes in, and the two start their psychology session. In this scene and in a few coming scenes, we get to hear a little bit about this guy, and I think the deal is something like they were going to blow up this section of the Arctic to make like a submarine path. I'm not sure on that. But he's become convinced that there's something in this section of the ice, a mysterious thing that only he can see. And they're at an Arctic research base, and he does actually refer to it as the thing, which I thought was a little bit funny. But he's become convinced that it's out there, it's evil, and he wants to blow the whole place up. And I do like how as time goes on, we do find out kind of the real story, what happened with this guy, and his sort of other maybe subconscious reason he wants to blow everything up. So it is interesting and pretty well developed. But of course, the psychiatrist doesn't crack all this at once, and he says, hey, I just invented this experimental technology. Let's try this on the first patient that goes through the door. The two put on the hats, everything fires up, and by the way, whenever they fire this machine up, it's a pretty fun sequence. Two little black circles representing their heads coming closer together, and then like a human skull with a brain in it. And we even get the oscilloscope from the Outer Limits opening playing a part in this episode, kind of like it did back in the very first episode of the series. Love it when the Outer Limits oscilloscope makes an appearance. But of course we get another earthquake, the power strikes, and when the two wake up, they find that they're in each other's bodies. The psychiatrist, now in the body of his patient, says, I think I can switch us back if we just do this again. But then guards come in, and the patient, now in the body of the psychologist, says, he's mad, he thinks he's me, he's dangerous, go and lock him up. And now we get the pieces at play. The psychiatrist, no one suspects of being crazy. He can move around the base a little bit freer, but he doesn't really have access to the bomb. His patient did, so maybe with some clever wording he can kind of argue his way in there. So it'll take him some time, but it's totally plausible. You get the doctor now in custody, and they're literally trying to tie him up and drug him, because of course him really being the psychiatrist, I mean, even though he knows a lot about him, maybe he just gathered that information in secret. This is clearly a delusion. We have to lock him up. So the one guy who knows the truth, the one guy who knows the base is about to explode, he's in quite the predicament. And then naturally you have his assistant, a potential love interest, and someone who knows the psychiatrist better than most other people. She could be a key, but she also doesn't really know that danger's happening yet. So hopefully we can get her into the fray and she might be able to move the pieces around. It's a really tight spot for our hero, and a bit of a snaking path, but one that can lead to potential success for the villain, and in turn, this second half of this episode is really good. Again, it takes us strangely long to get there. Overall, a pretty good ride, and I can definitely recommend it. Maybe not the deepest, most thought-provoking episode. I mean, they do talk a little bit about what the human factor means, and they do go into this guy's guilt, but still a really fun sci-fi story playing upon a concept that would get bigger later on, and overall, I definitely say this one's fun and worth a watch. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Outer Limits playlist. If you want to see my reviews for the past 7 episodes of the show, you should be able to find them there. And also, hey, episode 8, we just finished the second side of the first disc. Now on to disc 2. All that being said, thank you for watching. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.